gamble. Tires squeal, hearts race, this leads to scandal. Full throttle, no brakes, chasing that checkered. Drafted lines tighter than a bank teller's ledger. Turn 4 is a monster, jaws wide like a gator. Pit stop, quick cruise, move sharp as a razor. Adrenaline pumps, phase fuel injected. Outlaws on the track, chaos perfected. Full throttle kings, we don't slow down. Ripping through the night, owning this town. Cast to the floor, the crowd gets loud. Outlaws racing, we're born unbound. Smoke trails curl, exhaust whisper secrets. Victory's a beast, only the brave can keep it. Paint jobs flash, sponsors on the side. Egos collide, stealing pride. Oval dreams where legends ignite. Green flag drops, sparks kiss the night. This ain't a hobby, this a gladiator's grind. Racing's the religion, speed's the shrine. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Slow trails curl, exhaust whisper secrets. Victory's a beast, only the brave can keep it. Paint jobs flash, sponsors on the side. Egos collide, stealing pride. Oval dreams where legends ignite. Green flag drops, sparks kiss the night. This ain't a hobby, this a gladiator's grind. Racing's the religion, speed's the shrine. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Engines scream, asphalt burns, the grip's a gamble. Tires squeal, hearts race, this leads to scandal. Full throttle, no brakes, chasing that checkered. Drafted lines tighter than a bank teller's ledger. Turn 4 is a monster, jaws wide like a gator. Pit stop, quick cruise, move sharp as a razor. Adrenaline pumps, phase fuel injected. Outlaws on the track, chaos perfected. Full throttle kings, we don't slow down. Ripping through the night, owning this town. Cast to the floor, the crowd gets loud. Outlaws racing, we're born unbound. Smoke trails curl, exhaust whisper secrets. Victory's a beast, only the brave can keep it. Paint jobs flash, sponsors on the side. Egos collide, stealing pride. Oval dreams where legends ignite. Green flag drops, sparks kiss the night. This ain't a hobby, this a gladiator's grind. Racing's the religion, speed's the shrine. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Slow trails curl, exhaust whisper secrets. Victory's a beast, only the brave can keep it. Paint jobs flash, sponsors on the side. Egos collide, stealing pride. Oval dreams where legends ignite. Green flag drops, sparks kiss the night. This ain't a hobby, this a gladiator's grind. Racing's the religion, speed's the shrine. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights. Bump trash, slingshot, rival in my sights. One wrong move, you're kissing the lights.
Woo! Oh! Yes, sir! Yes, ma'am! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rumble here this evening in the Winning Bid Diecast and Card Breaks 170 here this evening from the beautiful Darlington Raceway. The lady in black here this evening for the Full Throttle Outlaws as these drivers ready to go to battle, ready to duke it out here this evening as they'll get loaded into the sim, each and every single one of them looking for the win as we'll get ready to go through. Our starting grid is starting on the pole in that number 43 machine. It's the safe light ride of Roberto Ramirez. To his outside in the number 20, it is the Ignite machine of Philip Toscano. Starting in position at number 3. In the 39, that is the Island Coastal Logger machine of Jackson Connell. To his outside in the Razor. Number 5, it is Matt Hayden, who will start there in that 4th position. Starting in position number 5 in the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino. Number 23, it is Tristan Kyle. To his outside, the QH Designs winning bid. Number 97, it is Colton Hardy starting there in 6. Starting back in 7th in the 29 ride, that is the Reese's machine of Christian Strader. To his outside in the Sinclair Dino Care. Number 6, it is Rusty Modesty. Bringing up the inside of row number 5 in the Expedition Yates 87 on YouTube, the 87 machine. It is Joe Yakes, who will start there in 9th. To his outside, the QH Designs number 54. It is David Trailer Jr. starting there in 10th as back in 11th. The Mobile One, number 18. It's Evan Schilling. To his outside in the beautiful number 4 machine, the Komatsu. Number 4, it's Jesse Calloway. And bringing up the rear of the field, we do see Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. in the Kodak number 15 ride. Starting there in 13th, we'll have Michael Yakes starting down on pit road here. Tough break for Yakes starting down pit side, and it looks like Keith Prince not quite out on the racetrack as of yet, so we'll have to wait and see if Prince can jump out there as well. As here we go, ready to rumble, as the safe flight, number 43 of Roberto Ramirez will lead us to the green flag here this evening from the lady in black. It is the Full Throttle Outlaws Racing League as the 43 gets a great launch, good start, slides up just in front of his teammate. He's got his other teammate right on his back bumper as 3 of the Ignite Motorsports rides starting up inside of the top 3. And right now we see all 4 of them inside the top 5, only separated with Matt Hayden now up and into position number 4. Unfortunately for Philip Toscano, not the start that he was hoping for. Has slid back already 3 positions into that 5th position, but he sees his teammates up in front and leading the charge as Roberto Ramirez leads lap number 1 here this evening. So Ramirez is out in front with Jackson Connell now into 2nd. That's where we see Tristan Kyle up and into 3rd here in that beautiful DraftKings number 23 ride, able to take advantage of that inside lane and work his way up and into that 3rd position. Here comes Matt Hayden looking to try to join the fun here, hoping that he can try to keep on battling towards that race lead, but has the Ignite Motorsports team kind of all around him here. 3 in front of him, 1 behind him. Christian Schrader back there in 6th, trying to join the fun here at the front as here comes Colton Hardy, Joe Yakes, Modesty, and David Trailer Jr. still rounding out our top 10. Is really the only big mover so far is the 20 ride of Toscano, who's certainly outside of that front row, has slid back into that 5th position, and now with Christian Schrader down to his inside. Schrader looking to take advantage and steal maybe another spot, as we do see a lead change. 43, Roberto Ramirez slides backwards, and Jackson Connell jumps out in front, so Connell now leads the way as Roberto Ramirez goes from out in front, leading the charge here. Our pole sitter now falls back into position number 4, and he's got to be careful because Schrader's right there, ready to pounce, ready to try to take over that 4th position as well. As some great racing action early on here this evening. These drivers really coming to put on a show here for us, as they still got a lot of laps, a lot of racing left to go with the 130 laps on the docket here this evening. 130 laps for these guys to try to figure things out and find their way into victory lane here at Darlington. As out in front, the 39 O'Connell continues to lead the charge here. Let's take a look at our race report this afternoon. A lot of these drivers, they're going to be looking for this first stage break, which will be at the completion of lap number 40. They have 4 sets of tires and 65% fuel capacity in these Xfinity race cars, so that brings into question mark here in this first stage. If we stay clean and green, we don't see any caution flags. Will they have to make potentially a green flag pit stop prior to the completion of this stage at lap number 40? Will they have to make their way down pit road and potentially use up that first set of tires? Because that is going to be one of the key things to success here this evening, is going to be tire control and how you're taking care of the race car and those tires. And tires will be definitely a hot thing, especially later on in the evening, in the late runnings, especially under, green flag conditions, no late race restarts or caution flags. If you got that extra set, you want to have it in your back pocket, but you want to make sure that you're not falling too far behind, making that additional green flag pit stop, putting yourself into a position where potentially, you put yourself a lap down or you fall back behind people, as we do see Christian Schrader making a mistake. Down through quarter 1 and 2, got up a little too high, lost a ton of momentum, and for Schrader goes from battling for position number 3 to now all of a sudden falling back into the 9th position on the racetrack. Heartbreaker there for that 29 ride. Started off so hot, so strong, and now back here deeper in the field is really going to have to try to pick up that pace, really going to have to try to battle back strong here, trying to work his way around David Traylor Jr., Rusty Modesty, Colton Hardy, and obviously the rest of our top 5 out there on the speedway. But once again, that puts the Ignite Motorsports team, back into the top 5. They sit 4 out of the top 5 right now, excluding Matt Hayden, as Hayden had worked his way up and into position number 2. Hayden's out into that second spot. He's gotten around that DraftKings number 23 of Tristan Kyle, and Hayden, he says, I'm not done yet. I want to race my way up to the front of the field. I want an opportunity to battle for maybe a race lead here early on this evening as they head down and out of corner number 4, back down across the line. They will complete the first 10 laps here this evening. So we got 120 laps left to go here. Still a lot of time. A lot of issues can arise over that period of time. So for these drivers, it's going to be, not necessarily a very, very tough race, for lengthwise or anything else, but this is a tough racetrack. A lot of drivers, they earn their Darlington stripes. You get up into that outside fence. As these runs continue to progress, the tire fall off will continue to become more and more, worse. It's going to get a lot worse for a lot of these drivers. They're going to continue to fall backwards. They're going to continue to run into issues. And as these tires continue to heat up and fall off, they're just going to continue to struggle more and more out there on the speedway. So taking care of your equipment will be the key to success here today. Is Hayden still looking to try to work his way around that 39. Jackson Connell, though, doing a great job holding him off as they're starting to pull away a little bit here. They're out in front. They got a bit of a gap now, split between themselves and Tristan Kyle, who sits there in 3rd. Roberto Ramirez, in the final driver of the Ignite Motorsports team in that 20 ride, rolls there in that 5th position. Rusty Modesty back in 6 in that number 6 machine with David Traylor Jr. now up 3 spots here on the speedway. As of right now, he is the hard charger out there on the racetrack. Up 3 spots early on from 10th to 7th. And for the 54 machine, he may not be done yet. He's hoping to work him in that 6th ride up towards the front, as you do see Modesty get up a little bit of a Darlington stripe right there. He's going to get another one on corner exit, but that's going to allow David Traylor Jr. to get around him. That's going to allow Christian Schrader to get back by. And for Rusty Modesty, he will fall back into that 8th position and right into the lap here of Colton Hardy, as Hardy will now go to work here, see if you can try to pick up another position here after falling backwards a little bit. Now down 3 spots from the start of this race for the QH Designs ride. For Colton Hardy, he's hoping to try to work his way back up towards, that 6th, 7th position, hoping that he can kind of get back into the battle here for a top 5 run this afternoon. As Jesse Calloway having a good start here. Good run early on, and for the 4 ride finds himself now up inside the top 10 is Evan Schilling right there behind him in 11th. Joe Yates back there in position number 12, just trying to keep that thing pointed the right direction, as Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. there in 13th. Michael Yates back in 14th. Unfortunately for Yates here, he had to start down pit side. He had to start down pit road here. Did not get out in time for the staging area, and unfortunately for the 39 ride, you see the outcome of that. Now after, 15, almost 16 laps being completed for the 39 ride, or for the 93 ride, he has now lost a lap to that 39, our race leader. So Michael Yanks goes as the first driver 1 lap down. Now he could be in a good position if Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. can keep himself on the lead lap here, and if everyone else can stay on the lead lap for the next, 30 laps, not even 30 laps, 24 laps until our stage break, then Yakes could be in that free pass position, could get the wave around back on the lead lap, back into the battle where it will be no harm, no foul, just missing out on the opportunity to earn any kind of stage points here this evening for the 39 ride. But for right now, Jackson Connell, who continues to lead the way, just earned himself a little bit of a Darlington stripe right there. Luckily enough, doesn't look like it really affected that car or lost any momentum, but we saw the sparks fly off of it, and we'll continue to see that all evening long. Whether or not it's the splitter jumping down and hitting the racing surface, or if these guys scraping that outside fence, but it is going to continue to be a beautiful thing to see all evening long. We love to see the sparks fly here on a beautiful Friday night of racing action. Is Jackson Connell, Matt Hayden 1 and 2 out there on the speedway, just still pulling farther and farther away from Tristan Kyle and the rest of our top 5 and the rest of the field here, as you do see David Traylor Jr. now into position number 6 here, and he doesn't look like he's done. He wants top 5 here. He wants to try to earn some of these stage points, make sure he puts some good stage points into his back pocket, and for that 54 ride, maybe just kind of waiting patiently in the wind here, just kind of hanging out a little bit back behind them, staying in the draft, but sticking right with this 20 and 43 ride, and knowing that, a little bit later in this run, it may be go time, or at least it may be a little bit too late for some of these guys. Maybe they were already too hard on their tires, or David's been pretty consistent here, not really running or pushing too hard for this 54 ride. So that's going to become a big question mark, especially even for our race leader, Jackson Connell, our second place driver, Matt Hayden, as you start to see Hayden falling a little farther away from that 39 ride. Have these two been maybe pushing it a little bit too hard, maybe going a little bit too quick out there, making some aggressive moves, just trying to carry so much speed and momentum around this racetrack that they may have started burning up their stuff here a little bit more than some of these other drivers? When you look back at, Roberto Ramirez, Philip Tuscano, even David Traylor Jr., have they been kind of holding back here for the first 20 laps or so of this race, knowing that, this is a long stage, 40 laps, the tire wear is going to become worse and worse and worse, and maybe they've just been a little bit more consistent and a little bit more easy on their stuff, knowing that they want to be there towards the end of the stage and not the front of the stage, not right onto it early on. And you got to really think Phil Tuscano could be in a good position here. He kind of fell right back into this 4th, 5th position right out of the get-go. Wasn't out in front, didn't set the pace, kind of just fell back in line and really has not pushed too hard in this 20 ride. So we'll have to wait and see if maybe he's got that extra gear a little later in this race, or if he can find that extra bit of speed and work his way back up towards the front of the pack here. Same with his teammate Roberto Ramirez right in front of him. We saw him kind of lead the charge there for the first 2-3 laps of this race, then kind of fall back and let some of these other drivers kind of take control in front of him. As Jackson Connell out in front, we start to see the tire fall off, reaching towards that, second and a half of tire fall off. And now we already see one driver headed down pit road. It's Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. We are the first one to come down pit side on lap number 22. Jimmy makes his way down pit road, and for the Kodak Delco battery ride, he's going to head down pit side, get some fresh tires, looking to jump back out there, but Looks like he may be jumping out of the race here. Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. now off the racetrack and back behind pit wall. That is a heartbreaker there for that number 15 ride. So it looks like for Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. may be an early exit to this race. We didn't see anything happen. Didn't look like he ran into any problems. That's an interesting one, man. Maybe a bit of a heartbreaker there for Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. not being able to get the whole race in here this evening. But out in front, it is Jackson Connell, who continues to lead the way. Now has about a 1 second lead between himself and Matt Hayden. Hayden, who rolls in second. Starting to see these guys reel him in a quick hurry, and they are there. They are on his back bumper, especially now after getting his Darlington stripe and bouncing it off the outside fence. You're going to see Tristan Kyle come with a big head of momentum. We'll look down to the inside. Here are the 5 ride, looking to jump back up and into second, and there you go. There goes the 23, but he's going to wash up the track. Oh, man, they get so close to that wall. Luckily enough for the 23 ride, though, no contact, able to carry that speed and momentum. And for Tristan Kyle, back up into second as Matt Hayden falls back into position number 3 on the racetrack. As Roberto Ramirez there in position number 4. Philip Tuscano in position number 5. And you do see David Traylor Jr. He's right there as well. He's been searching around. He's been trying to find a way to get around this 20 ride of Philip Tuscano here for the last couple laps. And now finally gets to the outside after a bit of a block from the 20 down the back straightaway. 54 coming with a big head of steam down the front stretch here. He is looking to keep on moving forward as David Traylor Jr. now joins our top 5 here this evening. So for the first time for the 54 inside the top 5 on the racetrack. But as these guys continue to battle, continue to dice it up back here, it's allowing this 39 rider Jackson Connell to open up a pretty significant lead here. 1.7, almost 1.8 seconds between himself and his teammate Tristan Kyle. So Kyle now rolling in position number 2. Does he have enough time to hunt down our race leader? Even though it's his teammate, he still wants to try to win that stage, earn those bonus points, put them into his back pocket as well here in this first stage, but he's starting to even pull away here from Matt Hayden. Hayden just trying to hang on to this thing as now here comes Roberto Ramirez and David Traylor Jr. Philip Tuscano all able to get around him. Here comes that 6 of Rusty Modesty as well as Matt Hayden down on the apron. Unfortunately, going to lose about 5 positions right there, man. That is a tough break for that number 5 ride as he falls back now into the 7th position. Here comes Christian Strader trying to reel him in, but it's Jackson Connell out in front who's going to just set sail on the rest of the field. It's actually quite incredible to see that, his lap times are still really comparable here as some of the fastest out there on the racetrack. Maybe it's just the clean air. Maybe it's, just tire management for the 39 ride, but nonetheless, it's been working out pretty swell for them here in the first 30 laps of this feature event. As 30 laps down, 100 laps left to go. 10 laps left here in this first stage of the day. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, for this 39 ride, man, he's looking pretty solid here in this one. So Connell looking to try to put this first stage to rest, hoping to try to pick up the stage win, as we do see David Traylor Jr. able to complete the pass on the safe light number 43 of Roberto Ramirez. So Ramirez and Philip Tuscano both lose a position there to David Traylor Jr. to kind of slide right into the middle of the Ignite Motorsports top 5 right now. And for David, he's the odd duck out of the top 5 here, not a part of that Ignite Motorsports team. But for David Traylor Jr., looks like he's still carrying some pretty good speed, some pretty solid drive out of this 54 ride, and he is starting to reel in that 23 ride of Tristan Kyle, but even then, they are still falling farther and farther away from Jackson Connell here. He, last time around, was the quickest car out there on the racetrack. No one quicker than our race leader, so that clean air must be paying dividends for that 39 ride as the 54 of Traylor trying to reel in this 23 of Tristan Kyle, and he is there. He is on him, and he is waiting to try to make that move, try to make that spot, change here. on the racetrack at the beautiful Lady in Black Darlington Raceway here this evening, as Tristan Kyle just going to try to hold him off here, try to keep him back there at bay. And the longer that he can kind of hold up this 54 could potentially allow his teammate just to run away with this stage. So for David Traylor Jr., you really want to try to make this pass as quick as possible, because obviously he's got the speed. He's got the car to be able to potentially try and run down our race leader, Jackson Connell. But that being said, he's going to need to work himself around the 23 right here in a quick hurry. They're now back almost 3 seconds behind behind Jackson Connell now. So that's a 3-second gap in really only about 5.5 laps left to go before the stage breaks. So it may just be a battle between these two for that second and third position here in this stage, because I think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna have enough time. Even if David could get around that 23 right now, I don't think he'd be able to reel in that 39. Jackson Connell is just in a different area code out there on the racetrack, and for David Traylor Jr., he's got 5 laps left to try to figure out a way to get around this 23 of Tristan Kyle. Phil Toscano now up and into position number 4 as Roberto Ramirez there in 5th. Rusty Modesty trying to work his way up inside the top 5. We saw that 6 machine make a early mistake here in this race after getting up into about the 6th position. Got up into the outside fence, kind of like that. Lost a lot of speed and momentum, and unfortunately went a little bit farther backwards, and is luckily enough battled back, and we see that 6th ride just outside of the top 5. Same with the 29 of Christian Schrader, who sits in 7th. Matt Hayden, who raced his way up and into 2nd here, was looking pretty strong there for a while, was all over Jackson Connell's back bumper. Obviously maybe pushing that car a little bit more than he would wanted to early on in this race, has paid the price in the later half and has fallen all the way back into that 8th position. Is Evan Schilling there in position number 9, and Joey Yates rolling back in 10th. It's Colton Hardy there in 11th with Jesse Calloway, Michael Yates, and Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. Keith Prince reeling up the field here this evening. But right now, it's all Jackson Connell. It's Connell out in front, continuing to lead the way. Nice and easy down into corner number 3. Down and out of corner number 4, man, he's got nothing to really stress about, even though David Traylor has worked his way now finally around that 23 ride of Tristan Kyle. Moved David Traylor up and into 2nd here, but it's now about 4 seconds between David Traylor Jr. and Jackson Connell, with only a lap and a half left to go here in this stage. He's got a lot of gap here between himself and our second place driver, David Traylor Jr. now out there on the speedway. Tristan Kyle now sits in 3rd. Philip Toscano right there with him. Modesty jumps up inside the top 5 as Jackson Connell down and across the start finish line here will complete lap number 39, and we're on our final lap here of this stage. So stage number 1 about to come to a close. Jackson Connell out in front will take us down the Boeing back straightaway, down into corner number 3 here, right around that Earnhardt Tower, and able to roll without a worry in the world here through 3 and 4. Back down and across the line as Jackson Connell wins stage number 1 here this evening. Jackson Connell picks up the stage win with David Traylor Jr., Tristan Kyle, Philip Toscano, and Rusty Modesty rounding out our top 5 here in this stage. Christian Schrader will come home in 6th with Roberto Ramirez, Matt Hayden, Evan Schilling, and Joe Yates rounding out our top 10 here in the stage. We did see, obviously we saw that 15 ride of Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. go down pit side here. We also saw the 93 ride have some issues here as well. Obviously had gotten loose, has a little bit of rear end damage, but for the 93 ride, even front end damage there as well. So must have bounced up into a fence, and then we see him kind of get stopped here on the racetrack. Luckily enough, this didn't bring out a caution flag here. This is back around lap number 32. Came down pit side, and unfortunately, ended up looping it right there as well, and then ends up taking this thing unfortunately off the racetrack, and I think for the most part, I'm not sure if Yakes has rejoined us here. No, does not look like he's jumped back out, so he's taking his race car back behind pit wall as well. So he started with 15 drivers. Keith Prince and never jumped out onto the racetracks. We actually started with 14 drivers. Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr. left after 22 laps, went down pit road and never came back out. Now Michael Yakes since lap 32, also down behind pit wall and not out there on the speedway. So we're down to 12 cats left to fight here this afternoon as everybody is going to make their way down pit side. Everyone's down pit road. Last times around, drivers were running somewhere around that 22 or 32.3, 32.4 second lap time. So a lot of these drivers had fallen off quite a bit there. In that 40 lap run, we saw about 2 to 2.5 seconds of tire fall off. And now that really brings into the question mark, what do you need to do? How do you need to game plan? To get to this checkered flag, especially with 130 laps, you would expect, kind of, 40 lap runs back to back here. Making that one green flag pit stop would be the hope, but I think for a lot of these drivers, it's going to be tough to get to these numbers. They may have been able to make it to lap number 40, but can they make it to lap 45? I think that's going to be the next big struggle for a lot of these drivers, not only trying to, save tire, save fuel, keep themselves pointed the right direction here. It's going to be a lot of what this final stage is going to be about, because that's kind of probably the game plan I think a lot of these drivers are going to have to roll with. Making that additional pit stop, coming back down pit side, late in the race may not be feasible or may not be something that you want to do. So we'll have to see whether or not some of these drivers elect to kind of, just roll here for a little bit. Maybe take it a little bit easy. Maybe sit back, relax, not make any, big moves out there on the racetrack, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, and ready to go back to green flag racing. Evan Schilling back down pit side, so he's obviously wanting to make sure he's got this thing absolutely filled with fuel. We did see the 39 ride of Jackson Connell also go to the rear of the field here. Now, I don't know if that's by design or if potentially a pit road mistake here for him and the 43, both now back deeper in the field, just around that 10th, 11th position. And for Roberto Ramirez and Jackson Connell, they're going to have to make up a little bit of extra ground here in this final run of the day. And for our Stage 1 winner, we'll have to wait and see how, some of that dirty air will affect that 39 ride. As here we go, getting ready to go back to green flag racing, as David Traylor Jr. will inherit the race lead. So now David Traylor out in front. Let's see what he's got in store. Does he have something up his sleeve? If he can get to that clean air and maybe pull away, lead some laps here this evening, as down and through that beautiful restart zone, we are going back to green flag racing as David Traylor Jr. sees that green flag fly once again for the 54 machine. They click off lap number 44 here this evening. So for a lot of these drivers, as we were talking about, they can make that 40 lap run. We just saw that throughout that first stage. They made it 40 green flag laps without any caution flags or any really green flag pit stops. So can they make it 45 laps and virtually split this final run of the day, being 90 laps for this final stage? Can they make it that distance? Is it really actually going to be knocked down a little bit more because they didn't go back green flag racing until lap number 44 there. They were all down pit road on lap number 42. So really, you got to make it 44, maybe 43 laps on each run. Split the stage virtually here at the end of this race. And obviously that's going to bring in that little bit more tire wear, but that little bit more of fuel savings, if that is a potential. If they need to worry about that fuel, then that is going to be on the back of their mind. But right now for David Traylor Jr., he's setting the tone, setting the pace here early on. He is on one and looking to try to pull away from that 23 Tristan Kyle, and last time around, he laid down the quickest lap of his race and of the race with a 30.11 out there on the racetrack. And for David, now out in front, he's got to be worried, though, because some of these drivers back behind him look like they're saving a little bit more aggressively when it comes to their tires. So a lot of these guys being a little bit more back off and not really pushing as hard, and I think he's going to kind of slightly see that out of that rear view mirror. He wants to have the gap, he wants to have that cushion between himself and second, but at the same point in time, you don't want to just pull away and burn your stuff up and put yourself into a position like we saw, Matt Hayden and a couple of those drivers, later in that first stage where they kind of were just just at their own demise and falling backwards because their tires were falling off a lot more and a lot quicker than the rest of these other drivers. So you want to take it very easy here. Long runs, green flag laps. You don't want to make any huge mistakes, put yourself into a huge, disadvantage later in these runs, especially knowing that you got to stretch out that fuel a little bit longer here this evening. And for a lot of these guys, if they can go farther, we're going to see some strategy here. Whether or not it be someone short pitting, coming down pit side a little bit earlier than everyone else, trying to hope that they can use those, good tires to their advantage a little bit sooner in making potentially the first couple of pit stops here in the green flag conditions, where we may see other drivers trying to stretch it even farther. We talked about trying to make it that, 45 lap runish or so, try to get somewhere to around lap number, 85? Maybe somewhere around lap 90 before they come back down pit road, knowing that they're going to be, good to go on fuel at the end of this race, that they're not going to have to worry about that. But if they got enough fuel left in the tank, we could see them stretch it out farther, knowing that they're just going to have much better tires at the end of the race, and that they're not going to have to worry too much about these other drivers, when they're running a second or two quicker than them with the much better tires out there on the speedway. As David Trailer starts to see that gap dissipate here, and Tristan Kyle, Rusty Modesty, starting to reel him in. And for David, he'll have to try to keep himself here at the front of the pack. But the last couple laps, he has been running quite a bit slower than these guys. So I don't know if he's just turned it down a lot more, if he's kind of backed up that pace, knowing that, hey, you know what? No quick caution flags here, no yellows breeding yellows, and we're back to this green flag racing that we love to see, that more of these drivers are back into that swing of thing, into those green flag runs, and you're maybe just realizing, okay, we're going to go for another long stretch, we're going to get a lot more laps in here again before the next caution flag, or we may not even see another yellow flag here this evening. So now he's really trying to take care of that race car, as he's got Tristan Kyle, Rusty Modesty right there with him. Philip Tuscano there as well. Matt Hayden back in position number 5 with Colton Hardy there in 6. Our stage 1 winner, Jackson Connell, back up inside the top 10. He rolls there in 7th, as he's got Jesse Calloway, Christian Strader, and Joe Yakes rounding out our top 10. Roberto Ramirez in the safe light ride back in 11th, with Evan Schilling there in position number 12. Now for Ramirez, he's saving a whole lot more aggressively here. This car has been a lot slower than a lot of the drivers here towards the front of the pack, and being able to win that pole position, showing that he's got the speed in this 43 ride. You gotta wonder if he is being maybe a little bit more meticulous here off that restart, knowing that the tires are going to be such a hot commodity, that he's just saving even more than these guys. He hasn't ran really over a 31-second lap time here since that restart. So for Roberto Ramirez, he has backed the pace down a ton right out of the get-go, where everyone else in front of him has been, running in that, 30.2s into the 30.3s, 30.4s, and now up into the 30.6s and 7s, as 43 may just be in the long stretch strategy here, and it may play out perfectly into his hands. He's just got to hope that he don't give up too much too early, that he can't get it back later on. And right now he does find himself about 5.5 seconds behind our race leader. But for David Trailer Jr., once again starting to build up that little bit of a cushion, that little bit of a lead here again out there on the racetrack. And I think, honestly, I don't know if being out in front is going to be better with the clean air compared to being back here behind these guys. guys maybe kind of sitting back in that, third, fourth, fifth position, is that the better spot to be? Because you can kind of manage your pace a little bit better. You don't really have to push too hard forward. You don't have to really worry about, falling back too much because you're saving those tires. But you can kind of just hang out right here, use a little bit of the draft to your advantage, not stress too much about, how fast you need to go or how much you need to save. And I think for David Traylor Jr. being out in front, that's a very, very hard thing to do, because you want to save as much as the drivers behind you are saving. And a lot of times, you find yourself, okay, you think they're going to run, a 30.8 second lap time, and all of a sudden they back down the pace another 0.2 of a second, and now you're still running 0.2 quicker than them, even though you're trying to give up time and you're trying to not use up as much tire as they are. And they kind of pull the Uno reverse on you, so we'll have to wait and see really what's in store here for these guys, because it's going to be another long run. It's going to be a long run. It's going to be a long race here. The checkered flag is nice and easy down the back straightaway here. The Boeing back straightaway. But the 54 and David Traylor Jr. still sitting out front, about that 4 or 5/10 of a second lead here between himself and Tristan Kyle. Everyone else kind of just sitting in line, just waiting patiently here, knowing that they can make some moves maybe later in the run. Knowing, they can use up some tire here before the end of this stage, or before the end of this run that they're planning on doing, as Rusty Modesty rolls there in third. Phil Tuscano back in fourth. Matt Hayden's there in fifth. You do see Jackson Connell in that sixth position. Now Jackson had to restart from the rear of the field here, so it took him a little bit to work his way up through some traffic. But for the 39 ride, they're in that sixth position. He's looking strong, but now maybe kind of into his own tire strategy out there onto the racetrack is Colton Hardy there in seventh. Strader back into eighth as Jesse Calloway and Joe Yakes battle here for the 9th and 10th position. Looks like Yakes will take it away from him, and Jesse Calloway will fall back into 10th. As here we go. Oh, we see some movement here towards the front. Looks like Tristan Kyle may have made a mistake here, and it looks like it's going to cost him and the 6th ride a Modesty. That second and third position is now Philip Tuscano and the 5 of Matt Hayden able to get around both of these guys. Oh, baby. Let's take a look back. Let's see if we can get a look at it here. So let's take a look at that 23 machine as Tristan Kyle kind of rolling in that second position. Not sure if he just gets loose on corner exit. There he is. He's up into the outside fence and then into the fence again. Modesty runs into him. That could have very easily been a caution flag right there. That could have hooked that 23 right down into the infield fence. But luckily enough, able to keep it pointed the right direction and keep on battling. But it cost him and Modesty a pair of positions out there on the racetrack. And for Tristan Kyle, goes from second now back into fifth here and has his teammate Jackson Connell right there behind him. But for Philip Tuscano, up and into second here, now looking to try to hunt down that 54 and David Traylor Jr. But that also kind of helped out the 54 ride as both drivers kind of ran into that issue. We saw the 20 and the 5 ride, obviously pick up that second and third position, but they kind of had to roll into the throttle a little bit themselves, making sure that they didn't get collected in that little bit of mayhem there at a corner number 2, and that allowed David Traylor Jr. to open up just over a 1-second lead now between himself and that 20 machine. So now do we start to see potentially that 54 back the pace up a little bit more here, start to roll off the throttle a little bit sooner, back onto the throttle a little bit later, give these guys that second back and allow himself to save that extra little bit of tire? Or does he just use it to his advantage and just try to keep pace with them and keep that second gap now between himself and the 20 ride to really set himself up here for maybe pulling away later in this run, maybe pulling away and opening up a big lead that could help him potentially win this race? Is David Traylor out in front? There you go. You hear that car starting to clutch it out there on the speedway, man. You really start to hear a lot of these drivers. They'll start to roll off the throttle a whole lot earlier and not really get back onto the throttle as hard down these straightaways. Here we go. Down into corner number 1. You hear him kind of roll off the throttle, rolling off the throttle, back into it through the middle of corner number 1. And then kind of just feathering down through corner number 2 here and down the back straightaway, back on top of it, rolling down here, and there we go, right there. Just turns it off, clutches it, lets the car roll. Using up a ton of brake, trying to save some of that tire, let the car kind of work and slow itself down with the engine brakes, and that's exactly what the 54 Ryan does down through corner number 3 and 4, and so far it's been working well for it. We'll have to wait and see if it continues to work here throughout this race, but it's allowing that 54 to kind of pull away here as Tuscano Hayden back in second and third. Modesty still trying to hang on to fourth here, but Tristan Kyle trying to battle his way back into the hunt here at the front as he's looking to try to get back around that 6 right now. We do see Matt Hayden looking to work his way around the 20 as Phillip up the track. Here comes Hayden. Here comes Modesty. Modesty's going to look to take advantage of that as well. So here he comes down to the inside of that 20 ride, but the outside momentum down through corner 1 and 2 may just prove a little bit more difficult for that 6 ride. May even open up the door here for the 23 to take another peek down to his inside, down through corner 3 and 4. As David Traylor Jr. now with a 1.5 second lead here, has Matt Hayden now in tow, trying to hunt him down, trying to reel him in here for that race lead as Tuscano falls back into third. Modesty's there in fourth. Kyle's back in fifth. Jackson Connell, our first stage winner, they're in position number 6 with Colton Hardy, Christian Strader, Joe Yates, Roberto Ramirez, our top 10. Evan Schilling's back in 11th. Jesse Calloway. Calloway's taking himself down pit side here, so a little bit of an earlier pit stop than we expected, and I don't really see too much work going on here to the Komatsu number 4 machine. And unfortunately for Calloway, it looks like he's going to stay parked down here for an extended period of time and actually end up losing a couple laps here now to our race leader. So for Jesse Calloway, not sure what's gone wrong for the 4 Ryan, but off the racetrack and staying down pit road. And unfortunately, that's gonna really take him out of any chances of trying to battle for a good finish here this evening. We saw Jesse up inside the top 10 battling here this evening, having a good start to this race, and now parked down pit side, kind of taking himself out of it. We've already seen Michael Yates and Jimmy Fitzmaurice Jr., Keith Prince not finish out this race and already off the racing surface and out of this one since lap 22 and lap 32. And for Jesse Calloway now off the racetrack here, potentially our third driver done here this evening, technically fourth as Keith Prince never got out there, but definitely not a fun spot to be if you're that 4 machine parked down pit road. As our race leader, he's in a great spot here as he just completed lap number 71 here this evening, as we do see Joe Yanks now making his way down pit side. So for the beautiful number 87 Ryan, the Expedition machine, he'll make his way down pit road, and maybe some early pit stops here. Maybe some different strategy out of a couple of these drivers deeper in the field. Maybe wanting to make that additional pit stop, split this race up into, this final half into maybe 30 lap segments where they're going to run, obviously, from lap 42 to lap 72 here. 30 lap run right there. Then probably going to go until about lap 100. Make their way back down pit side for their final pit stop of the evening. Make sure that they use up all their fresh tires, where I think we're going to see a lot of these other drivers kind of on that, lap 40 to, 45 or so lap game plan here, trying to stretch that fuel out, trying to make it so that they can make this on one pit stop, save an extra set of tires, keep them back behind pit wall in case there is that late race pit stop. But as I say that, here comes Jackson Connell, here comes Tristan Kyle. They're both going to head down pit side as well. So, okay, this is going to split things up here a little bit, and that really may start to change the taste of the mouth here for a couple of these other drivers on their strategy. Will they start to jump ship and kind of go with a different game plan now that they see Jackson Connell and Tristan Kyle kind of jumping onto this, 2 pit stop, run to finish off this race? Going down pit side here on lap number 73, so we'll have to wait and see if that will continue on or if we'll figure something out. If maybe they'll stretch it out, if they'll try to continue on with that game plan of trying to make it on 1 stop, or if more drivers will elect to make it on, maybe 2 stops during this final run of the day, as they had 90 laps was the run here at the end of this race. 90 laps. They made it 42 laps before coming down pit road there in that first stage. Obviously 2 laps under caution, but they were able to make it 40 laps of green flag action, plus our warm-up laps before we got the green flag. So they might be able to make it that 45 lap marker, and that's a one-stop race here throughout the second half of this race after that stage break. So you got to think that a lot of these guys were going to be on that game plan, but now they've kind of thrown a wrench into it with Jackson Connell and Tristan Kyle, even the 87 of Joe Yanks coming down pit road and kind of going on to this different pit strategy. And now the big question and the big worry for those two are going to be seeing this stay clean and green for at least the next, 10 laps, maybe 12 laps, 13 laps, until we start to see some of our front runners, our top 8, make that final stop of the race for themselves here on that longer stretch strategy for the 39 ride and for that 23. I don't know, maybe they can make it. I don't think they can make it to the end. Coming down pit road, on lap number 73. They're looking at, a 57 lap run to the checkered flag. I don't know if they're going to have that kind of fuel in the tank here, and obviously tire to be able to get that far. So I think they're going to definitely be coming back down pit road somewhere around lap 100. But for the most part, this is going to set them back quite a bit, as they are sitting now a lap down. They're quite a ways behind the race leader, so they're not close enough yet to kind of jump into back on the lead lap or anything. And for Jackson Connell and Tristan Kyle, it could be very trying times, because we see a caution flag or something, kind of off scheduled, then that could really blow up their strategy right in their faces. That could trap them a lap down and could keep them back there kind of out of a potential to win this race, and even with the strategy may kind of take them out of it. But we'll have to wait and see. Last time around, both Jackson Connell and Tristan Kyle ran into the 29-second marker here. The only two drivers to be able to run into the 29-second area here this evening, both running a 29.9 flat out there on the racetrack. So into the 29-second bracket for the two guys that were just down pit road, and they're hoping that they can race their way not only to the front of the field, but maybe, back on lead lap before we see a potential for caution flag. So this is going to get very, very fun very, very quickly, especially now with these fresh tires out there on the racetrack. And this is the big issue, and there it is. There's contact, there's problems. Unfortunately here, their own teammate kind of gets collected into that with the 43 ride of Roberto Ramirez and Colton Hardy. Nowhere for Colton to go, and no caution flag is going to fly. He's going to have to tow this thing down pit road. So older tires to newer tires. And you see how quickly that Tristan Kyle and Jackson Connell reel into these guys. And right here, you're going to see the 43. He's just trying to keep it pointing the right direction. He's trying to keep it rolling. And then, obviously, these guys are just trying to push it, man. They're trying to push it. They're on the older tires already. They see these quicker guys coming. And we're going to see Colton Hardy bounce it off the outside fence here. So he's pushing a little bit harder, seeing these guys come at him in a quick hurry here. He slides up into the outside fence. The 43 gets up there as well. He's got it straightened out, but then the 39 ride trying to split him here ends up running into the back end of Colton, which shoves him hard contact down into the inside fence here. That is a big hit there for him. But for the 43 and the 39 ride of Jackson Connell, they also get some pretty solid contact and damage out of that as well. I'm not sure if Connell ends up making contact here with the wall himself. Doesn't look like he makes a contact with the fence, but still ends up with some front end damage here. Man, that was very, very close to being our, second caution flag of the day. And unfortunately for Colton Hardy, that's going to take him down pit road here for an extended period of time. And he's going to have to get a lot of work done to that 97 ride before jumping back out here. But for David Traylor Jr., Matt Hayden, Philip Tuscano, they continue to lead the way here. They are a front three, with David Traylor Jr. having a 3-second lead now between himself and Matt Hayden. Modesty's there in position number 4 with Christian Schrader back in that 5th position. Roberto Ramirez now into 6th with Evan Schilling there in 7th. Tristan Kyle sits in 8th. He's still a lap down here. He's worked his way into what would be the top 5 again, but still being a lap down. It's going to make things interesting with, timely, untimely caution flags or this pit strategy, as for a lot of these drivers, you look at David Traylor Jr., he's now ran, since lap 44 when we went back to green flag racing. They just completed lap number 84, so he's ran that 40-lap run once again. Now, if he can stretch this out a little bit farther, maybe make it another 3-4 laps or so, it could really get to the end of this race with that one pit stop strategy. And for David Traylor Jr., with obviously a pretty decent lead right now, he can really afford to kind of roll out of the throttle even more, save more fuel. But you see Matt Hayden, Philip Toscano, Rusty Modesty, Christian Schrader, Roberto Ramirez, they're all still staying out there. Same with Evan Schilling. And for Tristan Kyle and Jackson Connell, Joe Yates, they're on that different pit strategy. I don't know if it'll play out for them, but obviously they wanted to try something different, see if it could work into their favor. Right now, not working out too swell, but it is still a lot of laps left to go before our checkered flag is down and across the line for David Traylor Jr. That is lap number 86 off the board, as we do see Matt Hayden, Philip Toscano. Here comes Rusty Modesty, Christian Schrader, all down pit road. And we see Roberto Ramirez. Roberto's going to stay out. Evan Schilling's going to stay out as well. For David Traylor Jr., he's going to stay out for at least one additional lap here, but now here he comes down pit sign. So David Traylor Jr. now going to make his way down pit road, pitting here on lap number 87. So pitting on lap 87, that means he ran 43 laps of green flag racing there, plus a couple laps under the caution there before we went back to green flag racing. So really ran about an 45 lap run right there, and now with only 87 laps down, what do they got? 43 laps left to go. Puts that fuel mileage right to that area, that 43 laps or so, and that may be enough, that 42, 43 laps of fuel for David Traylor Jr. to make it to the end of this race without having to make an additional pit stop here this evening. Now, Roberto Ramirez and Evan Schilling have went at least a lap longer here, and it looks like they may try to go a little bit farther here as well, as you do see Matt Hayden back out there, as we will see things kind of cycle back around. Here comes David Traylor Jr. He's going to roll back, trying to build up that speed. Hope to stay in front of Matt Hayden. Now, he did have a pretty sizable lead to his advantage, so he's hoping to keep some of that here as he rolls back out onto the Boeing back straightaway. He will have that bit of a gap here between himself and the 5 right as Roberto Ramirez picks up the race lead. Looks like Roberto is going to come down pit road here on lap 89. So is an Evan Schilling. And as these two make what could be their final pit stops of the day, it will slide Tristan Kyle back to the race lead here once he rolls around the racetrack. So for Tristan Kyle, he will jump back out in front. Jackson Connell will jump into second. So they're going to be able to leapfrog those guys, the fresh tires, the quick lap times. They are able to get back out in front. They take over the race lead, but now they're kind of on that strategy where they're going to have to make an additional pit stop here once again this evening. At some point in time, they're going to have to come back down pit road, and making that additional pit stop could prove, costly here late in this race without there being maybe a caution flag or something that could help them out here. It could definitely cost them a chance at winning this race. Is down and out of corner number 4, back down across the line. They'll complete lap number 90 here this evening. So 90 laps completed. 40 laps left to go here. 40 lap run here to the end. Drivers are going to be on the edge of their seat trying to save fuel, trying to save tire, and for some others on a completely different tire strategy and fuel strategy. When you look at Tristan Kyle and Jackson Connell, Joe Yates, our top 3 out there on the speedway, all down pit road on lap 73 and lap 71. They now have, that 14, 15 lap older tires than the guys that were just down pit side, but that 14, 15 laps may be exactly what David Traylor Jr., Matt Hayden, Rusty Modesty, Philip Toscano, Christian Strader, maybe what they needed to get to the end of this race without having to make another pit stop and still having an extra set of tires back there behind pit wall to use to their advantage late in this race if there is a late race caution flag. As with just under 40 laps left to go now 38 laps left here in this feature event, we're going to jump into a quick Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button. Jump into the comment section. Cheer your favorite driver on as we're going to crank it up here from the Lady in Black Darlington Raceway with the Full Throttle Outlaws here this evening. Alrighty, a beautiful crank it up session out there on the speedways. The drivers give us the sights and sounds around the beautiful Darlington Raceway here this evening. The lady in black giving us a great show here this evening. Is out in front. It is still David Traylor Jr. David continues to lead the way here in that number 54 ride. So David out in front. He's got about a 1.7 second lead between himself and Matt Hayden. Now we did see that strategy kind of play out there for Tristan Kyle and Jackson Connell as they had made their way back down pit road around lap number 99. Joe Yanks also back down pit side on lap 101, but a heartbreaker for the 39 rider Jackson Connell. Caught speeding down pit side, unfortunately earned himself a black flag, and for the 39 right now finds himself a few laps down here deep in the field, and unfortunately in a very, very tough position. Now we do see the 97 rider Colton Hardy still down pit road off the racing surface. Heartbreaker there for that 97 machine as he's down pit side and off the speedway, but for David Traylor Jr., Matt Hayden, Rusty Modesty, Philip Tuskin know that 29 right of Christian Schrader. They're really hoping that, they hit the strategy right on the head here this evening, hoping that they got enough gas left in the tank that they can make it to the start-finish line, to the checkered flag here, without having to worry about making an additional pit stop. With it running out of fuel, it's going to come right down to the wire. But for our race leader, he made it at least a lap farther than the 5 drivers back here behind him, or I guess 4 drivers back behind him. So he was down pit side a lap 87 for David Traylor Jr., where we saw Matt Hayden, Modesty, Philip Tuscano, Christian Schrader were down pit side on lap number 86. Now for Roberto Ramirez and Evan Schilling, they had pitted a couple laps later than 87. They were down pit side on lap number 89, so they got that extra little bit of fuel where they're really not too stressed about fuel here late in this race, and they got a little bit better tire than the driver in front of them. Unfortunately for both drivers, they are stuck deeper in the field here, and at the moment of quite a ways away from our race leader here. Unfortunately, they're back about 21, 22 seconds behind David Traylor Jr. And even with the little bit more fuel, the only lucky break that they could run into is having the 5 drivers in front of them have to come down pit road late in this race. And I'm not sure if it's going to play out that way or not, because David, nice and easy, down and out at corner number 4, back down across the line. He's only got 20 laps left to go here. So 20 more laps to figure out whether or not 54 Ryan can put himself back up and into victory lane here this evening, looking for another win here on the season, as he's been looking pretty good. He's been running pretty strong as of late. We'll have to wait and see if he can pick up another dub here today, because he's won a couple races in our Monday series. He won last time we were out on the racetrack in Martinsville here, and especially with it being playoff time, this definitely makes things that much more interesting, as this is our first race of the round of 10, and this could be a great break here for David Traylor Jr. being the first race of this round of 10, picking up a win and potentially locking his way in to our championship races here this evening. That could be a big, big thing here. If he could pick up a win, lock his way in to a championship battle at Homestead, would be a massive thing. And if it comes down to the point standings, let's take a look here at our point standings. As of right now, I do believe this is our drivers for the round of 10. Let me save this and put it up on screen. Okay, so let me grab that. This, where would I throw this? Alright, let's make this a little bit bigger for you. Alright, so this is our point standings here coming into the round of 10. So for Jackson Connell, had a pretty solid points gap between himself and that cut line. Tristan Kyle as well with a bit of a gap. David Traylor Jr. also with a decent gap between themselves and that cut line here this evening. Now, obviously, with Colton Hardy running into his mistakes and being down pit side for an extended period of time, Clinton Woodby not out there on the racetrack opens up the door here for a couple of these other drivers. When you look at Evan Schilling, you look at Joe Yates, can they go from below that cut line to above that cut line? Can Philip Tuscano with a solid run, or Roberto Ramirez finish this thing out and earn a little bit extra between themselves and that cut line as well here for our Championship 10 here this afternoon? I think for the most part they're feeling pretty A-okay. Obviously, Colton Hardy now kind of falling back here and out of this race. It is really going to affect, potentially his opportunity to run for this championship here next in a couple weeks from now when our championship race happens at the end of the month. But for Jackson Connell, Tristan Kyle, they're giving up a lot of points to that cut line with, not the greatest runs with that different strategy here for David Traylor Jr. potentially locking his way in or building a big enough points lead that he'll be feeling A-okay here going into our second and third rounds of this round of 10 right now, so he's going to be feeling pretty good going into Watkins Glen and our next race. But that's going to give you a good look at those point standings and really where these drivers are sitting, and maybe that extra bit of a gap, maybe that made a couple of these guys a little bit more, willing to make a big move, to make a big splash, run a bit of a different strategy in hopes that it pays off, in dividends for them here, because we got Watkins Glen in Charlotte coming up, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then obviously Watkins Glen as well for our next two races, the round of 10. So those could be kind of hit or miss races as well that could really hurt you or help you in the terms of trying to win a spot into that championship 5. But for right now, out in front, David Traylor Jr., he's just looking A-okay, man. Still out in front, leading this race. He is feeling good here this evening with Matt Hayden rolling there in second. Rusty Modesty back in third. Those are two non-playoff drivers in Modesty and Hayden. So that opens up the door for David to really, earn not only the win, but also a few extra point difference between himself and some of the other playoff drivers. When you look at Philip Tuscano, who rolls in fourth, obviously then we see Christian Schrader, Evan Schilling there in sixth. Now for Schilling, sitting in front of Roberto Ramirez, Tristan Kyle, and Jackson Connell. Even Colton Hardy there down deep in the field, and the three of Keith Prince off the racetrack as well. That kind of really opens up the door here for Evan Schilling to maybe kind of gain quite a bit. Now he's just got to try to keep that 43 ride back there behind him, hope that he can draw in a little closer to that cut line, maybe gain a couple points and put him into his back pocket and help him out here for his hopes to run for the championship here this year and to keep his dreams alive. But here in this race with only 10 laps left to go, it's going to get really, really interesting because David Traylor Jr., he's just set sail. And now, obviously, for Tristan Kyle, still finds himself a lap down. He's the next driver up here behind David Traylor, so maybe he can work his way back on the lead lap, get a timely caution flag, but then I don't think he's got an extra set of tires back behind pit wall where our top 7 still have that extra set in their back pocket. For Joe Yanks, he would love to earn that lucky dog. For Jackson Connell, he's still going to be trapped about, 2 laps down out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately going to keep him stuck kind of back in that 10th position. But for the 54 rider, David Traylor Jr., he's got a 5.3 second lead. He's set sail. He's got, he's got a lot of gap here, a lot of distance that he can kind of just ease out of it, take it easy here, as nice and easy down through 3 and out of 4 for David Traylor Jr. back down across the line. He will complete lap 122. We only get 8 laps left to go here this evening, so 8 laps left here. And now the big question mark will be the fuel mileage. How is fuel going to play out for these drivers that were last down pit road on lap 87, lap 86, and for a couple of them, when you look at Evan Schilling and Roberto Ramirez, down pit road on lap number 89. But obviously, that the fuel is going to be a big question mark. I think these guys should be good. They should be okay if they saved enough throughout the first half of this final run. Then they shouldn't have to worry at all. They obviously made it there probably about that, 43 laps, 45 laps there throughout that first stint. Now the second stint, they only got to go 43 without having to worry about fuel. That's an extra 2 laps or something, kind of in their back pocket. Maybe they got to save a little bit, but not too much that they have to worry too much about it to where it's going to cause issues for them late in this race. We'll have to see, because in front, David Traylor Jr., he's got 5.7 seconds between himself and Matt Hayden. He can really back it down here with 6 laps left to go. He can give up half a second a lap to this 5 ride and still have a sizable lead when it comes to the checkered flag, but maybe saving or giving yourself that extra little bit of fuel late in this race may be a huge benefit. As Rusty Modesty there in third. You do see the 87 ride. That's Joe Yakes. He's got fresher tires here after pitting 15 laps after these guys did, so he's got about 15 lap better tires. Unfortunately, he's a lap down out there on the racetrack on that 2-stop strategy here, and unfortunately that strategy just may not work out, and doesn't look like it's going to work out here this evening, as we still see obviously Tristan Kyle and Joe Yanks, Jackson Connell all lap down still out there on the racetrack. For David Traylor Jr. though, strategy's played perfectly into his hands. Now almost 7 seconds between himself and Matt Hayden, and you got to start to wonder, is Hayden rolling under the throttle even more? You see him slipping and sliding around here. Is the 5 ride of Hayden, Modesty, Philip Tuscano, maybe Christian Schrader, are they a little bit more worried here about fuel late in this race? Have they been backing down the pace here, making sure that they're good on gasoline? That could be the big question mark, because David Traylor Jr. has just set sail from these guys. He's been running, roughly about 0.4 of a second quicker than Matt Hayden, and still even 2-3 tenths quicker than the rest of the drivers inside our top 5. But for David, he's just set sail. I don't think he's going to worry in the world, man. He's on a nice little Friday night cruise here in that 54 ride as the QH Design Machine heads down the Boeing back straightaway and into corner number 3 here this evening, as he heads nice and easy down in through that Darlington, South Carolina. Corner 3 and corner 4, back down and across the line. It will be 2 laps left to go, so 2 more circuits. Is he good on fuel? I'm assuming he's going to be, because there is no worry, there's no holding him back. He's got 7.5 seconds between himself and second. So for David Traylor Jr. headed down the Boeing back straightaway, he doesn't have to be on the throttle really at all. He can be clutching it for pretty much the rest of this race and probably be able to still win this one. As, he doesn't really have to push too hard in making sure that he makes it to the finish line here this evening. It's nice and easy down across the line. We see that white flag flying, so only 1 more lap left to go here this evening from the Lady in Black Darlington Raceway, as David Traylor Jr. will head down through corner number 2 and take us for the final time this evening down the Boeing back straightaway, as you'll head in nice and easy to corner number 3. Now to corner number 4, here from the Lady in Black in the winning bid at 170. It is David Traylor Jr. who will pick up the checkered flag here this evening from Darlington Raceway. It is David Traylor Jr. who picks up the dub and will pull himself up and into the winning bid victory lane here this evening. Man, what a run, what a drive, what a performance here for David Traylor Jr. as David pretty dominant in that final run. Man, this guy put on a heck of a show for us and won this race by 7.5 seconds between himself and Matt Hayden, as Hayden comes home in position number 2. It was Philip Tuscano there late in the race, jumping up into 3rd as Rusty Modesty had fallen out of that 3rd position. Philip jumps up into 3rd with Christian Schrader back in 4th, Modesty there in 5th. Evan Schilling and Roberto Ramirez rounding out our top 7 out there on the racetrack. So that one stop in the final run worked out for our top 7. The 3 drivers that kind of played that different strategy, making that 2 pit stop run here to finish off this race for obviously Tristan Kyle. Joe Yanks and Jackson Connell did not quite play out into their hands as they finished back in 8th, 9th, and 10th. All of them a lap down out there on the racetrack. Well, actually, Jackson had fallen 2 laps down with that pit road mistake as well, making that additional trip down pit road. As Waterford Concept says, go Hayden, Modesty, and Strader cheering on the boys here this evening. As a pretty solid run, pretty solid race there for them as they were all up inside our top 5 here this evening. Obviously, Matt Hayden, the only one to join the podium, but for David Traylor Jr., able to join us up and in victory lane. We'll get ready to pull him up and into the broadcast booth here for his post-race interviews. We'll get him up here into the booth in just a couple seconds as David Traylor Jr. gets the win. Let's get him up here into the booth right now. Hey, David, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
Hey, Aaron, I got you.
David, man, what a run, what a drive for you here this evening, man. Obviously, starting back a little deeper in the field. Took you a little bit to work your way up here, but obviously, throughout that first stage, you're able to pick away at them, playing the strategy, trying to save some tire there, and later on, you're finally able to work your way up and into position number 2 there to get a pretty solid finish there in that first stage. And then, obviously, I don't know if there was a mistake down pit side or something, but for Jackson Connell, goes to the rear of the field for the restart, and it gives you the top spot there, going back to the green flag for this final run to the checkered flag here, as you had virtually 90 laps to see the checkered flag fly, and it was all down to kind of when you make that pit stop and what pit strategy you were going to be on. We kind of figured that you guys would stretch the fuel, trying to make it that one-stop run here with how green flag racing has been the last few weeks, and obviously for yourself, it plays out perfectly into your hands as you end up with the race lead. You pull away from the rest of the field as they start to battle for second. You build a pretty sizable lead there before that first pit stop. And all of a sudden, you know, it just kind of all falls into place here. And then you're just on a nice, easy Sunday cruise later on after making sure you were good on fuel. And you're able to come home with a, 7-second plus victory here this evening, man. Take us back through it. What's going through your mind after all the strategy and obviously 130 green flag laps?
I mean, yeah, I honestly, before the race, said I wish this race was longer. I feel like Darlington is probably one of my best tracks. So I obviously like to spend as much time here as I can. Yeah, like you said, there after the stage, the 39 had a penalty that carried over from next week. So, or from Martinsville actually, a couple weeks ago. So he had to serve that, which kind of gave me the top spot, and it felt pretty good. I was able to kind of work my way through traffic. I had some help by some guys let me by, some guys getting a little loose. But the car felt decent, even in dirty air. So I feel like once I got clean air, I thought I could be pretty good. And then, yeah, after the stage caution, did my best to get a good jump. Managed the gap. I felt like I had pretty decent short run speed. But I wanted to focus on long run speed because that's where it really matters here. And that's what we did. We came out and I noticed it was you had to maybe save a lap or two, which is very doable over 40 laps, to one stop it. And I thought, well, if I can do that and keep a set in the pits, that'll save a set of tires in case we get a late race caution. Versus pitting and then just hoping it goes green. So that's what we did, and it actually worked out. It turned out to be faster than two-stopping it. I didn't realize how slow it is to get down pit road. Forgot the speed limit here is 45. It's not 55 or 60. So overall, yeah, made it work. Like I said, the car felt really good. It's one of my favorite tracks. I love Darlington. It's always super technical. You don't just luck into a win here. Most of the time, I have before, and I've lost one before. But no, it was a fun race, and I'm glad we came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun race. Obviously, it's a lot of fun being able to run a lot of good green flag laps out there on the racetrack. There's only the one caution flag there for the stage break, but man, Yeah, that pit strategy call. We figured you guys would try to stretch it and try to run that one-stop run to the end of this one, and we saw, honestly, Tristan Kyle and Jackson Connell, Joe Yanks kind of go with that two-stop strategy there, and it just did not work out for them. Obviously, Jackson with a pit road speeding penalty on his second pit stop there in that run, but for Tristan Kyle, he was still back behind you and ended up finishing this race, the first car one lap down. So, it did not net out nicely there for those guys trying to pull, a little something different there. Even if they were able to catch that late race caution flag, they weren't going to have that extra set in their back pocket. Even if they were able to get back on a lead lap, they would still be, behind the 8 ball with 20, 30 lap older tires.
Yeah, once they had made that second stop, I wanted to do my best to keep them behind me, because if they were able to get around me and then we were going to quit caution, yeah, I'd have fresher tires, but this track is a really hard track to pass at, regardless. Unless you build a huge run off the corner, or kind of throw it in. It's tight racing. You can barely make it too wide. There's no 3 wide at Darlington, so want to keep them behind me in case that happened. I didn't want to have to try to get through traffic on restarts and different tires and things that could cause a lot of chaos. Yeah, we were able to make it work, come out on top, and like I said, the clean air. I think iRacing exaggerates it a little bit, but man, the clean air is huge, and I was able to take advantage of that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Took advantage of it, man, and you tame the track that is too tough to tame here this evening as you pull that 54 up and into victory lane here this evening at Darlington Raceway. David, who'd you like to thank for another great run and strong performance here this evening as you continue that hot streak now, 2 races in a row in victory lane here for the Full Throttle Outlaws. But, man, you've been making a lot of trips up here into victory lane lately.
Yeah, obviously, first off, thanks to the main sponsor on the car, QH Design. Colton, the guys over at QH are awesome supporters of mine, awesome sponsors of the league. I can't thank them enough. Can't speak highly enough of them. Big thank you to Gianni Johnson Motorsports, Admin Box, you for putting the broadcast on. I know there's some I'm probably forgetting. Metalheads Racing League, Blair at the winning bid. Everybody that has a hand in here and making this possible. We can't thank them enough. And like I said, you putting the broadcast on. I love going back and watching these. Seeing your point of view, seeing the excitement you bring. It's always it's fun to go back and watch. It makes it even sweeter when I know the result. So can't thank you enough for that. Thanks to the rest of the admin team, Joe, Colton, Clinton wasn't able to make it tonight, but those guys do a lot of the work. I just push the buttons while I'm in the car. My job is pretty easy for the most part, but can't thank them enough. And then thanks everybody for watching the stream, and thanks to my dad watching home and my wife for letting me do this.
Absolutely, brother. Well, David, heck of a run, heck of a drive, man. We can't wait to see you back in on the racetrack and hopefully, again, right back up here into victory lane and continuing your hot streak here, to finish off 2025 and to start 2026. And it's going to be fun to see how long you can keep that going.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and you have a good weekend.
You too. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, give it up there for Philip Toscano as David Trailer. David Trailer coming home here with the win this evening. David Trailer with the dub, pulling himself up here into victory lane this afternoon. Give it up there for our race winner, Mr. David Trailer. So we'll get ready now to pull in our second place finisher, the 5 ride of Matt Hayden. Hayden comes home in position number 2. Let's get him up here into the booth. Hey, Matt, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Yeah, I guess you would.
Matt, man, another good run, another solid race for you, man, after getting back into the swing of things here, back onto the sim, and here you are, back up onto the podium here this evening. Take us back through this one and what's going through your mind after a very solid second-place run.
I don't know if anybody could tell from the broadcast, but Darlington's really hard to drive, and it's not fun. It's frustrating, and you stay mad for an hour and a half. So yeah, that's pretty much what it's like to drive at Darlington. No, I mean it's a fun track. You can put a fast lap down, but like this, I think a bunch of people on the first stint didn't realize like how much it was grading down the tires, and it you could tell like the top 10 shuffled around a whole lot in that first stint, and then I think the second stint you saw everyone kind of back down and go into a tire saving kind of lineup, and no one really was too aggressive. And then all of us were like right on the edge of making it on one stop. So then you saw a bunch of fuel saving, and it kind of petered out the racing. So yeah, David kicked our ass, and that sucks because he just kept getting smaller and smaller in my windshield. So I think we got to the point where we realized that that was over, and we should just conserve and try to finish second. So we finished, probably with more fuel than we should have, but held second, and just happy after taking a couple of weeks off from racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still a very solid run. Anytime we can jump out there, especially at a track that we've seen David win and whip people's butts before, and I'm sure we'll see it again here as he loves Darlington and being able to come home second place behind him after a little while off the simulator. I mean, it's gonna feel pretty good, kind of getting your toes back into it there after a little while off, and now being able to jump back into the action, lead laps, and battle there at the front of the field is gonna be nice to see back in the start of 2026.
Yeah, it's obviously it's this is a big part of what I do, as far as hobby and racing and stuff goes. And so being away, like sometimes you have stuff come up, and this was I had an opportunity outside of sim racing and stuff that kind of took me away for a little while. And now we get the free time back and get back on here. And ultimately, it's being back with a lot of friends and guys that obviously we hang out with on a weekly basis that have a passion for racing. So, um, you know, finishing first or second, third, or getting wrecked out, it's just nice being back around, people that have that same kind of passion and friends ultimately. So, just glad to be back. And hell, I mean, victory, I can't be mad about being here, you know, on the broadcast with you, finishing second.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not a bad thing at the end of a very hard race, a very tough racetrack here, and for yourself being able to pull off a second place finish, man, nothing to hang your head about, Matt. Who would you like to thank for a great run and great finish here this evening?
Yeah, I want to thank the team, Misfit Motorsports. Strong finish with everybody. We all kind of ran up front and had fun, and um, giving Christian a hard time for going back to the back of the field and having to work his way back up. But yeah, I want to thank everybody in the league for putting this on, getting to run the Xfinity cars. These are a lot of fun. They move around a lot, good racing. So love being in this league. I want to thank everybody out there for watching, and appreciate you for putting on this broadcast for us, bud.
Absolutely, mister. No better place to be on a Friday night than here watching you guys duking it out there on the racetrack, Matt. Congrats on the second place finish. We can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next week.
Yep, going to get a cold beer.
Beauty, enjoy it, brother, and enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, we'll see you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our second place finisher, Matt Hayden. Hayden with a great run, great performance there on the speedway as he comes home in position number 2. We'll get ready now to pull in our third place finisher, Mr. Philip Tuscano. Let's get Philip up here into the booth. Hey, Phil, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Phil, man, another great run, great race for you here this evening. Obviously, early on, you and your teammates were all up there inside the top 5, battling here for the race lead, and, coming home all really inside the top 5 there in that first stage. But all of a sudden, in this final run, some different pitch strategies, some different game plans, and it doesn't quite work out for your teammates here. But for yourself, you're able to come home with a very solid top 3 performance, man. Take us back through this one and what's going through your mind.
I'll just get to it after the stage. I was thinking I could one-stop it. My teammates were arguing with me over that. And then obviously Jackson got the penalty and he was in the back. And then I heard something else happen later in the run that unfortunately collected my teammates and held them up to be, not as high as in finishing position, which kind of costed them. I feel bad for. But it is what it is. I was able to keep head high for Ignite and was able to bring home third at the end. I feel bad for the 6. He got the wall, then he popped into my nose at the end there. I kind of feel bad for him, but it's all racing, and luckily I was able to get third.
Yeah, absolutely. When it's the last lap, it's no holding back. It's no giving up. No worries at all. As I'm sure if it was roles reversed, he probably would have done the same thing. Probably felt the same way. But man, great performance and a great run. Obviously, starting up on the front row early on, he kind of fell back there, and then for the most part, it was just all about strategy, whether it be tires or fuel there, and obviously you and your teammates trying to decipher that, and obviously a lot of these other drivers trying to figure out what they need to do as well, and all of a sudden there was 6-7 cars kind of all in that same game plan, and it kind of worked out for you guys, as obviously for Tristan and obviously Joe Yanks, who tried that strategy as well, and then obviously Jackson with the penalty didn't help him out at all with it, but for those guys, they still finished this race a lap down and really didn't give them a shot at trying to gain any of those extra positions late in this race.
Yeah, and with the first two stints, basically the stage and then the one right after the stage, I was just focused on tires. And then the last one, I was just mainly focused on fuel, which kind of hurt. I kind of hurt my right front in that last stint, but again, I was mainly focused on fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Focused on fuel, making sure you can at least get to the finish here of the race and not having to make an emergency pit stop there and throw away a good finish as our first race here in the round of 10. And it finishes off pretty nicely as you're the second highest, playoff driver here in the field, and with a pretty decent buffer there with, 3 non-playoff drivers up inside the top 5.
Yeah, it was a good points day for me for sure, but my teammates have a little bit more to work. I hope they can get better positions next week, and same with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it could be a bounce back week for them, as I know we head to Watkins Glen next Friday night. So obviously going to a road course, a whole different ball game. How do you feel going in to Watkins Glen next week?
I could get a good spot there. I'm pretty good at road course racing. I've been working on it a lot as lately. I've been running outside of the Xfinity car. I've been running the GT3 and GT4s road racing, so I've gotten better at it. I'd say Watkins Glen is somewhere in the middle for me, but a lot of people know that track is the thing, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely still not going to be the easiest, but man, a lot more right turn and left turns next Friday afternoon. But here tonight, man, a solid finish and a great run for yourself as you park that 20 ride up here on the podium. Philip, who would you like to thank for another strong performance out there on the racetrack?
I'd like to thank my teammates, Ignite, Delta Airlines, Irwin, Skywater, Altered Images, Interstate Batteries, and Duncan.
Beauty. Well, Phil, a great run, great race here this evening, man. We can't wait to see you guys back in action next Friday, and hopefully see you right back up here in the broadcast booth.
Thank you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for the 20 ride of Philip Toscano as Philip comes home in position number 3 here this evening. Solid run, solid drive, and performance for that 20 machine here this evening. Unfortunately, that will do it for us here this afternoon. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and enjoying some great racing, some amazing action here with the Full Throttle Outlaws. And huge shout out to our sponsors here this evening, as the winning bid 170 was a absolutely amazing show, absolutely amazing race. These guys put on a great performance for us. Only the one caution flag, not for issues out there on the racetrack, but the one yellow for the stage break. Other than that, clean and green racing here for the entire night, which is absolutely amazing to see. And hopefully we can see some more crazy, some more great racing here throughout the weekend, and then obviously seeing these guys back in action next Friday as well for the final 3 races of the season. But man, what a run, what a race, what a show that these guys put on for us, man. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and showing the love here throughout the evening. All the likes, the comments, any of the shares, or any of the new subscribers joining the Peacemaker family, man. We can't thank you guys enough for being a part of the fun here on Peacemaker Gaming. We can't wait to see you guys back in here, hopefully either tomorrow, or we will be back at least on Sunday night with some more dirt track racing. So be on the lookout for that one. Hopefully maybe a little surprise stream tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see how we're feeling after work, but nonetheless, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and showing the love here today. And thank y'all for watching. See y'all in the next one, man. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and love.
ledger, turn 4 is a monster, jaws wide like a gator. Pit stop, quick cruise, move sharp as a razor. Adrenaline pumps, veins fuel injected. Outlaws on the track, chaos perfected. Full throttle kings, we don't slow